everybody tries to understand the other one's perspective. So I appreciate the fact that you wrote some questions down, and I can use these to talk, and then you can ask some more at the end. Okay, so first question: how do you practice Dharma as a teenager? I think the way you practice, it doesn't really matter how old you are. But having said that, maybe the way you approach the Dharma is a little bit different because your interests are different. Okay? So when I lived in Singapore in 1987 and 88, I used to go to the Polis and to the universities and talk to the Buddhist organizations there. And I remember one time we had a discussion about friendship. And, what kind of qualities do you look for in friends? Because friends are really important to you. And they influence us, we influence them. And so what makes somebody a friend? And what kind of people do we want to be friends with? And I remember as we kind of went around in the circle and people were sharing their thoughts on this, what actually came out of it, what they said without realizing it, was they wanted friends who engaged in the 10 wholesome actions and abandoned the 10 non-virtuous actions. And so I was saying, hey, you guys just came up with a list that the Buddha spoke about 2,500 years ago when he was talking about how we can be, what actions we should do, what action we should abandon. And in looking for your friends, those are the same things that you're looking for in friends. Yeah. And the same things you want to develop in yourself in order to be a good friend to others. Okay? So the kinds of things, I'm just using this as an example, how to practice as a teenager, and selecting your friends. So people were saying, somebody who doesn't hurt others physically. In other words, we want to feel safe around our friends. Somebody isn't going to physically assault us. And so similarly, to be a good friend to somebody else, we want to have control over our physical movements so that we don't hit anybody or slap anybody or something like that. The next thing that came out was people want friends who they can trust with their stuff. So that if you loan something, one of your possessions, to your friend, that they'll take good care of it, they'll return it on time. Yeah? And, right? That's an important quality you look for in friends. Because if you loan something to someone, and then they just take it like this, put it in their own pocket, and you never see it again, then you know that person's not very trustworthy in that way. Yeah? And so, similarly, if we want to be a good friend to others, then we want to pay attention and know how to protect other people's property. Yeah, because then they can trust us with their stuff. The third thing, and people commented on, is in romantic relationships, they wanted a friend, a partner, who they could really trust, who would be faithful, who wouldn't go, sleeping around and with somebody else, having boyfriends and girlfriends on the side, stuff like that. And so similarly, to have a good foundation for a romantic relationship oneself, to abandon that kind of behavior. And then one of the big ones that people were talking about was lying. Yeah, if they know a person who lies, they don't want to be friends with that person. Yeah, would you? Yes? No. If somebody lies to me, finished. I am not going to, tell that person things. Because, I know that whatever they say, whatever I say, they'll distort it, whatever they say to me, I won't know the truth. And how can you have a good friendship if the person you're trying to be friends with lies to you and doesn't tell you the truth? Or just makes up stuff. So that's a really important one, to be able to speak the truth to people and not make excuses. You know how we sometimes make excuses to save people's feelings? Yeah. But it's usually not to save their feelings. It's usually because we did something that we don't feel good about, that we don't want them to know about, because they may not like us. So then there's two problems. The initial thing that we did, that we don't feel good about doing, and then we lie about it to cover it up. Yeah. So if we behave like that, it's going to be very difficult for people who want to be friends with us. And it's just like we don't want to choose friends, we're going to do that. Another one that people commented on is they want friends that won't talk behind their back, that won't criticize them behind their back, or, when you confide in somebody, that then the other person goes and blabbers about it and tells all sorts of other people. Yeah. So they want somebody who will help them to have harmonious relationships. Yeah. I mean, do you want to be friends with somebody who's always talking bad about somebody else behind their back? I know, I listen closely to what other people say. And if they start bad-mouthing somebody, I know that there's a really, I have like an alarm go off in my mind. Don't trust this person, because if they're bad-mouthing somebody else, soon they're going to start bad-mouthing me and talking about me behind my back. Yeah, so this is not a person to be trusted. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then another thing people commented on is they wanted friends who didn't insult them and put them down, but friends who encouraged them and helped them. Yeah. And so friends who sometimes, we make mistakes and we don't see our own mistakes, but if we have a really true friend, that person will, with kindness, point our mistake out to us as a way of helping us. They won't criticize us, and insult us and demean us, but they'll tell us that we made a mistake so that we can correct it. Okay. And so similarly for us, when we speak to other people, to speak in kind ways, to not just demean them and put them down. There's something in a case in the U.S., I read about it in the newspaper. There was a couple at one university that had been dating, and the woman kept insulting the guy and insulting him, and then if he didn't come on time, she would threaten to kill herself or threaten to leave. And so she was always putting him down and threatening things and telling him he was worthless. And then he went and killed himself. And now she's been arrested and is being charged with involuntary manslaughter. So that's kind of, I don't know about the legal aspect of it, but certainly, you don't want to be good friends with somebody who's always putting you down and telling you you're worthless. And similarly, we shouldn't treat other people like that either. To be encouraging and not gossip about people behind their backs and not form a little clique, and we're all friends because we don't like that person. Yeah. Did you do that? Do little cliques? Oh, you're all so quiet. Yeah, so perfect. Yeah. Do you have cliques and you talk bad about people behind their back? Come on, you can admit it. We're with friends. I did that. So there's just two of us. I see everybody else is so nice. But you're the person I trust because you're nice. I don't trust the other people who say that they don't do that. Yeah? Shall we try again? Yeah? How many people sometimes talk bad about other people behind their back or criticize people to their face? Okay, that's you don't? No? Okay. So, actually, I think this is another quality that I look for in friendship, is people who are willing to admit their own mistakes. Yeah. Somebody who's putting on an air of, I'm so perfect, I'm so wonderful. It's like, forget it. I know you're not really like that. Yeah. I mean, we're all imperfect living beings, so we might as well admit it and be honest about it. So, how to practice as a teenager? One thing that I would say is really important, and before I say this, I must say that you people are so fortunate to have met the Dharma when you're young. So fortunate. I was 24 when I met the Dharma, so according to some people that's young. But I look at it and I was actually old, because if I had been able to meet the Dharma, in my early teens, it would have saved me so much pain. Yeah? Because the Buddhist teachings are so helpful for working with our emotions and our feelings and having good relationships and things like that, that I wish I had encountered the Buddhist teachings earlier. So you're very fortunate. And so, in terms of how to practice, I would really encourage you to go to teachings as much as you can. In Singapore, there's a whole host of so many different kinds of teachers, Buddhist teachers, and you can go online, we have a whole YouTube page and a website, and it's all sorts of things to listen and watch and read. And so, learn the teachings and then think about them and apply them to your life. And if you do that, the Buddhist teachings are so amazingly helpful. Yeah? Especially how to work with emotions, because we all get angry, right? Yeah? You get angry. Who doesn't get angry? It's a long time? Really? Okay, let me ask you this. Does anger mean that you always yell and shout and scream? No. How else can you show anger?
Withdrawal.
Hmm?
Withdrawal.
Yeah, you withdraw. So you should think that just because you don't make a big fuss and explode, that you never get angry. Yeah? Sometimes, we're angry and we just completely withdraw. I'm not talking to you. And then we sit there and we wait we had a fight with somebody, we're really mad, we give them the silent treatment. And we're waiting for them to come and say, is something the matter? Is something wrong? Yeah, we're waiting for them to come and do that. And then they come, and, they're a friend, and they say, is something wrong? Are you upset? No. We won't even talk with them. Yeah. And then we stay in our room. And we feel sorry for ourselves. My friend doesn't like me. Poor me. Who does that? Oh, so then you must be the kind that explodes when you're angry.
I forget quite easily.
Before you forget, what happens?
I get a view on that. I just put it in as really angry.
Yeah. So some people are the explode type of people when they're angry. Some people are the withdraw people when they're angry. Some people do both. Yeah, I do both depending on the situation. Yeah. See, you have to learn to admit what you do and to own it. What am I going to do? Come up and sit in front of before you and say, oh, I never get angry. I've conquered all my anger. Yeah? If I say that, are you going to trust me? Or are you going to think I'm a big fat liar? Or a big skinny liar? Yeah? I think much better, We can just open up the way we are. Because I think a lot of times now with Facebook and everything like this, everybody's trying to create an image and create a mask. And you know what is very popular now, what is trending, the right kind of clothes, the right kind of music. Yeah. And you want to be in with everybody. And so we put on a mask, I behave the way I think they think I should be. Yeah. Do you do that? I behave, there's a way I think my parents want me to be like this, so when I'm with my parents, I'm like that. Then when I'm not with my parents, then my friends want me to be another way. So then I change and I'm that way because I want to have that group of friends. Yeah. So then I'm always thinking, what do other people think? How should I act to get those people to like me? And so then sometimes we say things that we don't really mean, because we think that that's what other people want to hear. We pretend to like things that we don't like, so that other people will think we're normal or fun or something like that. You go to a party and a bunch of people are drinking or maybe taking drugs, and it's like, well, they're all doing it, and if I don't do it, they're going to look at me like I'm nuts. So, okay, my parents will never find out. Anyway, they do it too. So, I'll drink, I'll take drugs. No? You don't do that? You do? So it's very, when I went off to school, my first year of college, my parents didn't drink very much, so a lot of the people around me were drinking, and I thought, I don't know what it's like to be drunk, but all these people are drinking, so I'm going to get drunk sometime to see what it's like. So I went to a party with a friend, I got drunk, and that cured me of taking alcohol. It was so awful. I felt so awful that I never drank after that. I won't tell you about the drunk part. Because I'm perfect. I'm a good parent. Yeah. So, yeah. There's a certain amount of peer pressure when your friends are doing something. And parents are just as susceptible to peer pressure. Yeah, they always tell their kids, oh, don't do something just because your friends are doing it. But the parents are looking around what their friends are doing and following them too. Yeah. So kids follow, switching over some advice to the parents now, kids follow what they see you do, not what you say to them. My mother knew that, so she used to say, do what I say, not what I do. In other words, listen to what I say, but when I do the same thing I'm telling you not to do, don't follow my example. Then why are you doing it if you don't want me to follow your example? So it's very important, parents, you have to walk what do they say, walk the walk, walk the talk, walk the talk. What? Walk the walk and talk the talk. Anyway, you have to do what you're telling other people to do, or not do what you're telling them not to do. And I think that's one thing that's very, a point in our maturation that people go through, and some people never go through it. Their whole life, they're always, trying to be what they think other people think they should be. And I think it's really important, especially as young adults, that you really check in with yourself and ask yourself, what are my values? What are my principles? What are the things, what's my own code of morality, my own code of ethical conduct? So that you have your own idea of let's see if I can get the words out. So that you know what actions, when you do them, you don't feel good about yourself after doing them. And what actions, when you do them, afterwards, you feel confident and content. Yeah. So to really check in with yourself and see, what do I feel good about doing and what don't I know that for yourself, then even your friends pressure you to do something. It's very easy to say no thank you. And then even if they say, oh, what's wrong with you? You know, you're not drinking and drugging like everybody else, or you're not doing, this and that like everybody else. You don't feel pressured, you don't feel bad, you just say, it's not something I want to do. That's it. And if the other people are real friends, they won't push you. If they aren't real friends and they push you, then again, to me anyway, it's a sign I can't really trust that person. Yeah. If they're, they want me to join in some activity, maybe bad mouthing one person, how everybody gets together and not criticize this one person, and they want me to join in with that. And I say, this conversation makes me feel very uncomfortable. And then I walk away. And then they say, what's wrong with you? And I say, well, I just don't feel good, sitting around talking bad about somebody behind their back. And you say it. If they don't like you for it, okay. Because it's better that I feel good about my actions rather than other people praise me about my actions. Unless those other people are really wise people that we respect a lot. Yeah. Like I know with me, if my Dharma teachers told me something, that I was doing wrong or wanted me to do something or whatever, I would really listen to that. But if a friend is saying, oh, come on, let's go do this, say that, blah, 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 and I think, that's not so wise, it's not so smart, I'm going to get in a mess if I do that, then I tell them no thank you. And if they don't like me because of it, that's okay. Because I want to have friends who have really solid ethical values. I want to have people who want to act well in the world. I don't want to have friends who are just all over the place. You getting what I'm saying? Is that making some sense to you? So it's not that I criticize those people, but I just know, careful. Yeah, so how to practice, learn as much as you can. Keep some time aside every day just to sit and think about life. Or to read some Dharma books and think about them. Yeah. Because, society tells us, you gotta learn a lot, and you gotta pass your exams, and you've got to get this kind of job with this kind of salary, and you've got to do this, and you've got to do that, and if you don't do it, you are not successful. Okay? What I have to say about that is, okay, you can say that, but I don't buy it. I'm going to choose what I want to do with my life. Put myself into a mold. And I think that's really important. Choose a career that you like. So parents, don't push your kids into some kind of career or to study some field that they're plainly not interested in. Because who wants to work at a job for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years that you don't like? So think about, what interests you. Because we all have our own talents. We all have our own abilities. And we have to discover what those are. And we all have different things that we like to do and different things that don't interest us very much. So figure out what those things are. And then, when you're going to school, study the things that you're interested in. Yeah? Don't train for a job that you think is going to be boring, because then you're going to have a really miserable life. Yeah? And don't marry somebody just because your parents want you to marry that person. Because if you don't like that person, again, you're not going to have a good marriage. Sorry, parents, I'm telling your kids not to listen to you. But don't you think that's good? You shouldn't pressure your kids to marry somebody or to train as something. The thing is, okay, let me look at it from the parents' side, okay? So that you'll know when your parents talk to you this way. Parents want the best for their kids, okay? They want their kids to have everything they didn't have, to do everything they weren't able to do, to be happy and have the things that they weren't able to have, to be happy. So parents really, they want the best for you guys. Okay. But the problem comes in what makes the child happy isn't necessarily what makes the parent happy. It's like if you're a parent and you like eating rice, but your kids like eating noodles. Are you going to just tell your kid, gotta eat rice, rice will make you happy, if your kid doesn't like rice? Yeah. It's better you say, oh, you like noodles? Good, eat noodles. It's equally as nourishing, even if you prefer rice. So people have different talents and interests, and you've got to let your children find out what those things are and encourage them in what they like to do. Now you may say, oh, but if you're an artist, you'll never make any money. Artists don't make money. If you're a musician, you'll never make any money. You should be a lawyer, you should be an engineer. Yeah, you should be a doctor. You want to have a lot of money, right? Unless you have those careers, you're not going to have money and you're not going to be happy. I don't believe any of that. If I believed it, I wouldn't be sitting here in front of you, because I wouldn't have become a nun. Because my parents didn't want me to be a nun. They thought it was a waste of my education and that I wouldn't make enough money. And I said, actually, this is what's in my heart, what I want to do, and this is a way that I think I can benefit other people the most. So it took them a while, but eventually they accepted it. But you really have to think, what are my particular things? I want to, with compassion, not to be famous, but with compassion, I want to be able to offer benefit to others. I want to contribute to society. Forget about fame. Fame is craziness. Because the more famous you are, the more people have so many crazy expectations of you. Now I know we all look at movie stars and sports stars and politicians and go, wow. There's so many people look at Trump and go, wow, this guy's so rich. I wish I was like him and had all this money. Let me tell you, I am so glad I am not him. I am so glad he is not my dad. Oh, I feel so bad for his kids. Can you imagine having a father like that? Yeah. I mean, are you aware what this guy does? Okay. Yeah. But I want to have parents that are rich and famous, but lie and treat other people horribly. And so parents, you don't want your kids to grow up to be that kind of adult either in order to have fame and wealth. Because I think, if you read the Buddhist scriptures and think about them, the Buddha talks about contentment as being the real wealth. Because if you're content with what you have, then you always have enough. And if you're not content with what you have, you never have enough. And so you see people who always, I've got to make more money, I've got to make more money, and they never, ever, ever have enough money. And then you get to be somebody that's very rich, like Bill Gates, and then you have no freedom. You're Bill, you know who Bill Gates is. Okay, so one time, some years ago, I was asked to come and help because Bill Gates' best friend was dying, and that family wasn't very interested in Buddhism. And so I wound up, the man died, and then Bill Gates had the memorial service in his house. So I wound up going to Gates' estate. And when I came home from that, I took a walk in the park, and I thought, I am so free. I can take a walk in the park, and nobody bothers me. Yeah. Bill Gates can't take a walk in the park. His kids can't go to school without having a what? A bodyguard. Yeah? When you're famous, you need bodyguards. Who wants to have a bodyguard follow you around all day? Yeah, I don't. And when you're famous, then everybody's always coming up to you. Oh, will you sign this? Will you take a picture with me? Actually, it's so much nicer just to be anonymous. Nobody knows who you are. You walk down the street, nobody bothers you. Okay? So what I'm saying to the young people is you make your own definition of success. Yeah. Don't just buy other people's definition, but you think in your own heart, what is a successful human being? Yeah. And I think somebody who is happy, who is good-natured, who is kind, that kind of person is a successful, happy human being. Whether they're rich or not, doesn't matter. You can be rich and be very unhappy. You can be poor and be very happy. So I think very important to really think for ourselves about these kinds of things. Yeah. Not just follow what everybody's doing. What do you think, parents? Some parents are garden, some parents are garden. Huh?
So you said, yeah, the parents like rice, the child likes noodles, same that the child likes noodles. But what the child likes instant noodles?
If the child likes instant noodles, and those aren't good for you, that's what you're saying, okay? Or the child likes junk food. When the child is little, you can encourage them to eat better, and you give them food that is more nourishing. Once a child gets to a certain age, it's very difficult to tell them anything, okay? Because I speak from personal experience. When I was 16, I knew almost everything. And my parents were really dumb. Yeah. But I knew almost everything. So I didn't want to listen to my parents very much because they were pretty dumb, in my opinion. Okay? So through that, of course, many years later, I realized that my parents were concerned with my safety. When we didn't get along, I thought they were trying to control me, but actually they were concerned with my safety. Okay? When we didn't get along, they thought I was being foolish. Yeah? But actually, I was trying to be independent and learn for myself. But at a certain point, I think what parents have to do is instill good values and good behavior in your kids when they're young, and teach your kids how to make good decisions. What criteria do you use to make a good decision? Yeah. Do you use how you're going to make the most money? Is that the thing that is the main criteria for what you decide to do? Is it how to be the most popular? Is it how to be the prettiest or the most handsome or the most athletic? You know, what is our criteria for changes, for making choices? And so as parents, you know, to be able to help your kids figure out what are the criteria on which they base their choices. Me personally, what I've decided my criteria are is how can I'll choose the option by which I could keep the best ethical conduct and abandon harming others. Okay? Because for me, abandoning harming others is a really clear and important value. So if I'm faced with 3 choices, the first thing I'll examine is, you know, do any of the choices involve me harming other people or doing things that I think are unkind? Yeah? And if any involve that, even they pay me $1 million, I won't make that choice. Okay? So that's one criteria I use. Another criteria is how can I be of the most help to other people? Okay? So, you know, when I'm thinking about what I want to do with my life, yeah, what kind of career do I want to have where I can be of benefit to others the most? So for me, I chose being a Buddhist monastic because I felt that's the best way to live my life, to have an ethical life, and to benefit others. And other people will make other decisions according to, what is of interest to them. But, it's important to know what criteria we use to make our decisions. And as a parent, at some point you have to let your kids learn on their own. You want to protect your kids from suffering, and when they're very little and you can pick them up, that's easy to do. When they grow up, you can't pick your kid up and say, no, don't do that, you're coming home. And, you have to instill the abilities and so on when they're younger so that they know how to handle different situations when they're older. And a lot of maturing means we learn from our own experience. Parents, didn't you learn from trial and error in your own experience? And didn't you make some mistakes and fall down along the way? But when you fall down, you learn something, don't you? Yeah. We learn very important things when we fall down. So even though, you want to protect your child when they're, getting to a certain age, then you have to let them learn by themselves. As kids, if you're not sure what to do, ask wise adults. Ask your parents, or if you don't want to ask your parents, ask a teacher, or ask an aunt or an uncle, or ask a monk or a nun. Ask some adult who you respect. When you need advice and you're not sure what choice to follow, ask for other people's advice, and then, think about it and make your own decision. And then accept responsibility for your own decisions. Because that way you'll learn. Actually, there's a whole bunch of things to talk about. I'm still on the first one. Maybe I should move to the second one. The digital world and the Buddhist teaching. Well, I think if you can use digital, things and the internet and so forth to spread the Buddhist teachings, fantastic. Yeah, use it. But if the internet becomes a way to, if it becomes like an addiction and something you do just to amuse yourself because you don't feel like using your mind in a very positive, creative way, then internet's not so good. So that's one thing that I think is very important that we really examine in our lives, is what kind of relationship do we want to have with the internet? Yeah? Do we want to be on Facebook? You go, what? You mean there's a choice not to be on Facebook? But all my friends are on Facebook. I must be too. Yeah. I'm not on Facebook. Well, I have a Facebook account in my name, but somebody else runs it. I don't even know how to use it. And I don't have a personal Facebook page. Yeah. Why? Because what people post on Facebook, I don't find very interesting. Oh, I had cereal for breakfast today. I'm going to spend my my precious time reading somebody's Facebook page about telling me what they had for breakfast. And also what's so deceptive about Facebook is everybody's presenting, this is the thing, everybody's putting on a mask and making a presentation of, I have this wonderful life. Look who I'm going out with, look what I accomplished, look what I'm doing. I'm having so much fun, my life is wonderful. And so everybody, creates that kind of Facebook page so that everybody will press like. And then you think if a lot of people press like, then you must be a good person. How wrong that is. Okay. But, and the difficult thing with Facebook is you read other people's pages and it looks like their lives are so wonderful. And you create a page that makes your life look wonderful. The difference is, you know what your life is really like. And you don't put your problems on Facebook. Or at least most people don't. Yeah. So you read, everybody looks wonderful, but I'm unhappy. And I have problems. Oh, but they have such a great life. And I'm the only one who doesn't fit in. So Facebook is very deceptive because we compare ourselves with others, but we know our own problems and happiness, but we're comparing that with just other people's happiness. So it's not an actual comparison. I think, oh, something's wrong with me, I don't fit in. And then some people, they unfriend you, and you go, oh, or they never friended you to start with. Or they put something bad, they diss you on the Facebook page. Personally speaking, this is why I don't have a Facebook page. So I think it's important that you really think about how you want to relate to the internet. Yeah. Do you walk around all day with your phone in your hands? Yeah. So you're crossing the street and you're not looking where you're going, you're doing this. Okay. Quite dangerous, actually. But when people come to our monastery, we ask them to give us their phone for the duration of the stay, so that they can really be present at the monastery and engage with real live human beings. Not with people online, but real people who, when you talk to them, you can see through their body language, what they're feeling and what they're thinking. You're in real time with them. Okay? And some people, when we ask them to give us their phone, they go, they don't want to give their phone up for a few days. It's as if their phone is just an extension of their hand. It's like the phone is part of their body. Yeah. And asking to give up your phone is like asking you to cut off your hand. I find we're so glued to our phones. I read about one couple that met on some dating app, and they started emailing back and forth, and they developed this romance back and forth, and email all the time. And then they decided to meet. And when they got together and sat in the same room, it felt so uncomfortable talking to each other in real time that they went into different rooms and started sending messages because that was more comfortable than really being with each other. Something's wrong when people are like that. So I think, again, choose how you want to spend your time and energy. Yeah, choose what you want to learn about. You don't have to be like everybody else. Okay, what I want to do is stop now and see if you have some questions or comments that you want to make.
Thank you for sharing. Just a question. How do you deal with the hatred for someone who has hurt you deeply before? Because, there's an experience that I ever felt where someone has hurt me badly and I cannot get over it.
Okay. So when somebody's hurt you and you're really hanging on to the hurt in some way. Okay. I think the process of forgiveness is important. And the way I define forgiveness is that I'm going to give up my hurt and I'm going to give up my anger. In other words, I'm not going to hang on to whatever happened, because whatever happened is in the past. It's not happening right now. And I don't want to let the shadow of the past act as an impediment for me in the future. So what I do is I think about, what happened that was painful. I ask myself, what was painful for me? Yeah. And I try and understand what my own buttons were, what I'm sensitive about, so that what they did was hurtful. And then I look at my sensitivities and I think, how can I grow so that those things I'm not so sensitive to that, okay? So that doesn't mean suppressing things and pretending I'm not hurt. It means really working with my mind and seeing, for example, if I feel hurt because somebody criticized me a lot, if I really think about it, well, just somebody's criticism doesn't mean I'm a bad person. Yeah, I'm the person who has to evaluate myself. And if I did that with a good intention, and they misunderstood, that doesn't mean I'm a bad person. And I don't need to feel bad about myself just because they criticized. Does that make some sense? Yeah. On the other hand, if they criticize me and I did make that mistake, then I should say to myself, it's good, I'm glad they criticize me, because now I know there's something that I need to improve on. But in either case, there's no, if I think like that, I have no reason to hold on to the hurt or the anger.
I'm a parent,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'm a parent, and then I have a child. So I actually have 3 children, and my eldest, he
was very close to Buddhism on his own when he was younger. But as he approached teenhood, I find it increasingly difficult to get him close to Buddhism. So in the past, we would attend Dharma talks. In fact, we attended one of yours a few years ago together, and he was like, I really wanted to come along. And he would pick up books to read about Buddhism and all that. In fact, I think he read more books than me. But once, or that I would say is in this 2-3 years, he started being not attached, but he started being more distant. So the more I encourage him or suggest to him, the more he would retreat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you can put the books around and he will not touch them. Whereas in the past, he would have read all these books that my friends gave me and I hadn't read, and he would have read with us, things like this. So I don't know whether this is part of like his growing up. He needs some time to do something else different or whatever. But I'm a bit concerned because at the same time, this is also the period where sometimes you face conflicts and all that. And the other question is.
It's better if I do one question at a time. Okay. So, what you're describing is very common, actually, because I think once people get into teenage years, they really want to explore and learn more. Yeah. And, and it's quite normal and natural that they do. It's also normal that the more the parent pushes, the less the child wants to do it. Yeah, because it's interesting, as a parent, sometimes you're not the right person to say something to your child. You know, if somebody else says the exact same thing, your kid will listen. But if you say it, forget it. Yeah. So, that's just part of what happens when you're a parent. What I think is good to do is talk to your children about ideas. Okay? So instead of saying, go to the Buddhist class, say, tonight, I went and, I heard a lecture and, she was talking about this and this, and I thought that was kind of an interesting idea, an interesting point. What do you think about that?
No thanks.
Huh?
He would say no thanks.
No thanks. No thank you.
No.
No thank you.
No, thank you. Then what can you do? What are you going to do? Force them to talk? But if you go and say, she talked about friends, and she said this and this, it really made me think about my friends, and how I choose friends, and what kind of qualities I want in friends. And you just share for a couple of minutes, then leave it. And if he wants to say something, he'll say something. And maybe he'll take what you said and go in his room and think about it. Let's ask the teens, the young adults. What do you do if your parents talk to you about, if you were her child and she said that? Is there a way that you think she could talk to you so that you would want to answer? What advice would you give her? Or do you just think it's hopeless? Yeah.
Maybe you can try to see Ben's interest. We can try to find out what Ben's interest is. I'm sure between his interest selection and things he enjoys doing, there will be some connections that we can make to some Buddhist teachings. Perhaps we can try to find the conversation starter from there. Maybe on a daily or weekly basis, getting talking on this, like all these different teachings and these social feelings. Because at least the topic of the conversation topic will be something that he's already passionate in, and he might be more open to discuss with you compared to something that you just don't care about. So perhaps there's something you could try.
Right, so if you let's talk about soccer, talk about soccer.
I just think at different phases, teenager will have different interests. So it's like at first you may be very interested in the Buddhist philosophy. But then when you read a lot of Buddhist philosophy, then you see, oh, it's mindfulness again. Oh wait, it's compassion again. Oh wait, what is this about Islam? It's the same teachings on emptiness again. Okay, so after a while it just gets very tiring, seeing the same thing placed in different ways again and again. Surely he will have his own interest in different areas. So I think it's much better instead of getting him to go back to the Buddhist teachings, just ask him what he's doing, what he's interested in. Because chances are if he believes in Buddhism, he's probably practicing in his own way. It doesn't need to be like a fault, it doesn't need to be something physical. As long as he's living morally and being good, then he's practicing.
Good point.
Actually, that is related to what I was going to say as a second part of the question.
Wait, the use of lights.
So actually, that was related to what I wanted to say about the second part.
Okay.
So if I thought that he had sufficient resources, then I would just let him be because I would trust that he would make wise decisions. And we've always been talking about karma and talking about cause and consequences, how the decisions we make would have a consequence, whether there's a good consequence or a bad consequence. And of course, some consequences we cannot see in this life. We can only experience it later, and this is the difficult part because for teenagers now, everything is here and now. They see the immediate results. So sometimes, even though they have this basic idea about karma, but I don't feel that his belief is strong enough to guide me. So sometimes I would inevitably still want to give some advice and which because okay, it's about karma, okay, never mind, I'll suffer the bad karma. That's not yours. So I find it a little challenging now to deal with this, and we can, like what he suggested, not talk together and just talk about his life and all that. But along the way, we will see some poor decisions or impending poor decisions, and that's where, the mom wants to step in and do some advice.
You want to jump in and say, don't do that! Yeah. Let me just make a comment to the kids. When my dad was 60-something, my grandma still told him to put on a sweater so he didn't have cold. So your parents are always going to be your parents, and they're going to say things like that. And just, let them say it and don't get all upset about it. It's just that that's the way they are. They mean well. They mean well. And parents, try not to say that kind of stuff too much. Yeah? Don't you think? But the weird thing, so many parents have told me that when they were kids, they thought about how they wanted to raise their own children when they had kids. And they thought, oh, my parents said this and this to me, I am never going to say that to my kids. Yeah? Parents, how many, do you say things to your children that you vowed when you were young you would never say to your kids, but that your parents said to you? You do, don't you? Yeah? Yeah? Things that you hated when your parents said to you, and now it's like coming out of your own mouth to your own kids. So, yeah, just check up. Yeah?
To coach the students. Okay, don't teach them what they should do. Let them go and bang on the wall. Let them go and explore. Let them have their own boundary. And they will come back and they will know that what is big is correct.
Yeah. You really, we have to learn from our own experience. Yeah. And parents, did you do stupid things when you were young? I did stupid things. Yeah, that I never told my parents about. That now I look at and it's like, what was going through my mind that I did that? Ooh. But you learn. Yeah, you learn. Other questions?
Venerable, so I just want to ask, how do we stop ourselves from ruminating and not stop ourselves from ruminating and not being in the present moment? So I think I get something that affects me, and I'm sure like some of the people around here as well. So sometimes you overthink a lot, and I think it prevents yourself from fully being in the present moment and savoring the joy of whatever you're doing, because you're always being concerned about, okay, what's going to happen in the future, what's going to happen next time, and it kind of takes away your enjoyment of the present moment. As in, yeah, so that's just my question. How do we stop ourselves from doing that? Thank you.
Okay, so what this is kind of speaking to is worrying and anxiety. Yeah. So ruminating about the future, ruminating about what happened in the past, and then just making up so many stories in our mind. It's like, oh, this happened, and this person said this, what did they really mean by that? Analyzing very simple exchanges to death. Going through every line in the conversation, what did they really mean by that word? And I said this, how come their face looked like that? And it must have meant this. Yeah. I did so much of that. Oh my goodness. Painful. I think the thing is just, it's over, we're ruminating, we're conceptualizing, we're making up stories, yeah? And I think it's good to stop and ask ourselves, is the story I'm making up true? Yeah. Now I'm analyzing this, and they meant this, and they looked at me that way, and I know they don't really like me, and like, is that true? Am I certain about that? So one, ask the question that. Second question is, okay, they looked at me that way, they used this word, they sat, they were sitting like this instead of like this, and to ask yourself, does that really matter? Yeah. Next year, am I going to even remember this? Is it going to be important to me? Or even next month? Okay? So like a year ago, today's what, November 27th? Okay, so if you're ruminating, you ruminate every year. So, November 27th, 2018, what were you ruminating about? What was your mind worrying about and anxious about and going around in circles about? Can you remember? So if you don't remember in a year, and it's not important in a year, why do we spend so much time on it now? Yeah? Okay, so we're going to draw to a close. Oh, yeah, one more question.
So in Singapore, when you study like in school, it's always so exhausting. Like when you look at the work and then you're like, why is this so boring? So how do you break that mental pattern and see, what is that? This is really nice.
You mean so the subjects you're studying in school,
Yeah, sometimes it's,
or just the process of going to school?
the subjects is
The subjects are not exciting.
yeah, because when you're young, we taught care of ourselves, so we can no longer enjoy something. We think, oh no, I'm going to get not so good result. If I don't study, I don't get the results I want, then I don't get the job, then it's stressful. So how do you change that around so that when I see the man, I just like, yes.
Well, first of all, I would just ask myself, what am I interested in? You know, because it sounds like you're trying to force yourself to be interested in something you're not interested in.
It's something that I need to have to what I'm interested in.
Okay, so it's like you want to be an engineer, but you hate math. And so but you have to study math to be an engineer, and you find engineering interesting.
Yeah, so
Like that?
Study the science, and I think science is really cool. But then to understand the science, you need maths.
Yeah, okay. So then you really have to look and see, you know, if you go into science as a career, and you have to have a lot of math for that, is that really going to be a career that interests you? You know, in other words, if science itself may be interesting, but it's only interesting up to a point, because if you're not interested in the math, then that part of the science doesn't become interesting to you. Do you get what I'm saying?
Not really, because it's like, although the process of getting there is difficult, and once you get it, you enjoy it. But then how do you make the process less taxing?
Yeah. Okay, then you just see, I want to get there, I want to do that, so I have to do this, but you think in mind, I'm going to get there and do that, so if I have to go through a little bit of stuff that I don't particularly like, it's okay, because where I'm going is where I want to be. Yeah, and it would be nice if we never encountered bumps in the road and we never had difficulties. But I think one thing that's important to learn in our life is how to handle the bumps in the road, how to handle the difficulties, how to handle frustration. Because these kinds of things are going to happen to us all throughout our life. And so we've got to learn how to deal with them. Yeah, instead of thinking, oh, but my life always has to be fun, you know? It's like, okay, there's some things that aren't so fun, but if I know I have to do them to do something I want to do, then that's okay. Okay.